The crew list can be opened either by clicking on the crews on the view menu or going to Pricebook and going down to crews. Easiest crew list. It is a list or a table where you keep any or all labor rates, whether you keep track of your labor or it is labor rates that maybe a subcontractor charges you. Regardless, it is a convenient place that will allow you to accumulate hours for each category. Each row of the crew list has a crew code. This code will be used in the items to when you want to use the particular crew or that hourly rate for that item. That means that anytime you want to change several items, if you change the cost here, it will automatically update the cost for every item in your price book or database that is using the crew code as the source for its hourly rate. A crew list line item can be a single rate for one person or a group of people. When you have more than one person, in the case of a drywall installer and a drywall taper, the hourly rate is the total of both of those people. So if one was 15, one was 25, the $40 would be the total of rate for that crew. But the important thing to note is that you don't have to have more than one person on a crew just because it is crews. As we have mentioned, the importance of the crew list is that it accumulates hours across the number of items in a particular bid. So you'll have the total number of hours for that bid for that particular labor person or crew. This is an excellent resource when you're producing the job. You can let the workers know how many hours are expected to do a particular activity, and therefore it is valuable in giving the crew an idea how long it should take. This is of course your choice. You don't have to share this information with them. You can use it purely for job costing at the completion of the job. When you're on the crew list, if you want to know the number of activities this particular crew is used for, when you're on the row, click the cross-reference right here with the XREF and tell it you want to cross-reference to the bid. You could also do it to the price book and see what items in your price book are associated with this crew. We're going to click OK here. And we can see that we have 3 line items that are used for this particular crew, and the title bar tells you that this is a bid item list with 4 crews, and you would click the all to redisplay all the items in your bid. I have moved the crew column into the view so we can see which line items crews are used for their labor cost. Next, we're going to open the details of this line item. You can open up the form by the BI form link here on the view bar or the magnifying glass here. When we open the form up, you'll look over on the crew box and you'll see P9. P9, if we go to the list button after we click in there, you'll see that it's $50 an hour, and that is code P9 linked to this particular item. And you can see the raw cost is getting it from the P9, which is $50. This is how the items are linked to the crew table. This line item has 6¼ hours. If we go to the next item by going down the navigation, and we'll see the concrete slab is using the same P9 and it has 30 hours in it. If we click here, you'll see that those totals are accumulated to 36¼ hours. While we're on the crew list, let's say you want to change this $50 to $58. Simply type 58 in there and hit the enter key or click on any other cell. And when we close it, the two items using P9 will be updated to $58. If we go to the next line item, you'll see that is also $58. While we're here talking about labor, let's go over a couple other items. You can round labor up by quarter hour, half hour, three-quarter, full hours, whatever you wish. If you click in where we have this in here, meaning none, and hit the space bar, you'll have up, down, or closest. We're going to make it up, and we're going to change this to 0.25, and it will not change the hours here, but if we change the quantity and add another 10 square feet, you'll notice the 625 becomes 650 or 6.5 hours. You can experiment with different values to get the system to calculate how you want an hour or portions of hours to be calculated on your labor. And when you're here, if you hit the list button, you'll have a list of factor suggestions. We can go over that a bit later, but you can save all your settings of rounding up, down, closest, and the factor that you're using, which is a topic for another time. The last thing we want to talk about is regarding labor productive rates, which is not necessarily part of the crew feature, but it's a good time to pass this information along. We're going to close this window. And in order to understand what's going on, we're going to move a column over here. I'm going to right mouse click, go to select a column to display. I'm going to down to the labor section. It's alphabetical, and you see labor conversion factor. We're going to bring that into the screen. Click off of there. I'm going to go over and move it over where you can see where it's at, and let's put it over right here. So now we have it on the screen where we can change labor productive rates. Now that we have the labor productive rate, which is the labor conversion factor on the screen, we have 6.5 hours. Let's just say that in this particular job, it's going to take you a little longer and you want to increase that. So we're going to just type in, instead of 0.025, we're going to put 0.05 and watch the number of hours. Now we have 13 hours, and of course the cost for the labor is adjusted also. So it's really easy to adjust productive rates on the fly on any item that handles labor. One additional item which really is covered on our labor conversion videos, but since it's right here, I want to go over it. Most labor productive rates are expressed by multiplying, but dividing sometimes is more convenient for our understanding. We're going to change this item by changing the way it's calculated to give you a little better idea. We're going to go back to the form, and instead of multiply here, we're going to hit the space bar and divide by, and we're also going to say that this lineal foot, this particular crew, can get let's say 15 feet in an hour. I don't know what that's going to do, but let's just say 15 feet. Now when we go back to the item, we have this is using the divide, and you can see the hours here. It might be a little easier for you to understand this. Now we could put the lineal foot in here and the divide sign in here in terms of column information so you have a clearer picture. But just for general information, this labor conversion rate can be either multiply or divide. And if you want to have a clearer understanding of it, the divide might be a little simpler, especially when it's lineal footage and square footage items. So in this case, we're going to change this to divide by 8. And let's see what that does for us. Oops, got to go higher rather. Not by 8, by, let's say 25. And now we have 10.5 hours. And so however long it takes this crew, or not however long, but however lineal foot they can do in a hour would be put in here. So if you got 260 lineal feet, and this particular crew can get 50 feet in an hour, then you would put 50 in there, and you'd have 5¼ hours. So I hope this adds a little bit of information that might be helpful in the future.